Indian Navy and Coast Guard helicopters are trying to rescue 25 firefighters trapped on the top floor of the Lotus Business Park in Andheri, Mumbai. These are pictures that we bring to you from Mumbai. A fire broke out in this high-rise building early this morning, around 9 this morning. Fire department was informed a little before 11. Firefighters initially called this a grade 1 fire, but when efforts to put down the flames failed, the fire spread from the 21st to the 20th floor. Firefighters were trapped. They managed to evacuate everyone from this building. 30 firefighters were trapped. 5 have been rescued so far. And these are images that we bring to you of that rescue operation. Between 3 and 3:30, just about 10 minutes back, the 5th fireman was also rescued. They've all been taken to the Juhu helipad. What we are being told that some of them will require hospitalization. They've inhaled fumes. They will be taken to the nearby hospital before further action is taken. The building houses many offices, including properties of several film personalities like Rakesh Roshan and Ajay Devgan. According to fire brigade officials, the reason for the fire is still not known. Once the fire has been put out completely, they will begin their investigations. The good news is nobody's been injured in this fire. And for the latest on this rescue operation, let me take you to Mumbai. To headlines today's Amrita Shedge. Amrita, five firefighters rescued so far. What's the latest?
5 firefighter officers have rescued so far, and the rescue operation is still going on. The initial information which we are getting from fire brigade says that there are still 20 to 22 fire brigade officers trapped inside. The rescue operation is still going on. This is a high-rise building. Initially, in the morning, there were 12 firefighting cars there and 6 water tankers. But now they have called for more water tankers and fire cars, almost 7 extra fire cars and water tankers they have called here. They are just entering into the premises, and this is a very serious and big call for fire brigade as they have a limitation with their equipment, and because of that they have called Indian Navy. Indian Navy has launched seeking chopper, and also the Coast Guard has launched straight up chopper. They are helping to rescue the officers which are stuck inside. But fire brigade is saying that it will take more 1 or 2 hours to control this fire because the flames are still coming out from 21st and 22nd floor.
Okay, the fire still hasn't been put out. Amrita, stay with me. Let me quickly bring in Vice Admiral A.K. Singh, former Director General of Coast Guard, former CNC of the Southern Naval Command. Admiral Singh, for the Coast Guard, is this an extremely dangerous operation? The building is still on fire and they're trying to rescue 25 trapped firefighters.
I wouldn't call it dangerous. Yes, it's definitely a difficult and complex operation for both the Coast Guard and the naval helicopter pilots. But they're quite used to it. They're quite used to operating under very difficult conditions. So, with this one Chetak and one seeking helicopter, I think we should be able to get up everybody in an hour or so. The seeking will carry about 20 people in one go, but each time, each person will require about 2 minutes for winching up. So I suspect in an hour or so, between the Navy and Coast Guard, they should be able to get all these 30-odd people out.
For the benefit of our viewers, Admiral, explain the winching operation. Does an Indian Navy or a Coast Guard personnel, does he go down and does he then belt up these people before they are winched up?
That's right. In this case, what would have happened? The winch operator, there's a winch operator on top, and there's a person who goes down, and he will be in the building, and he will keep tying the harness of the winch to every individual before he's taken up.
Okay, and in a situation like this, when the Coast Guard is called in, would you agree with the criticism that is coming or from Ground Zero that the fire department is woefully inadequately equipped to deal with a situation like this? There are high rises coming up, but firefighters are neither trained nor do they have the equipment to fight this fire.
Well, I'm not really a specialist on firefighting, but in this scenario, I think the only way to get these people out is by helicopter and nothing else. Unfortunately, we have the Navy and the Coast Guard helicopters in fairly large numbers available in that naval base there, INS Shikra. So we are very fortunate that that base is just a few minutes flying time away.
Absolutely, Admiral. The base with flying time just 2 minutes, 5 people rescued so far. There is also a seeking helicopter of the Indian Navy that has been pressed into service. Headlines today is Jugal Purohit with me with the latest. Jugal, you've been speaking to officers in the Coast Guard, and because of the smoke, they were facing some difficulty in this rescue operation.
That's correct, Gaurav. In fact, what we also understand that this Indian Coast Guard's Chetak helicopter that we are seeing on our screens now has returned to its base in Kolaba, the INS Shikra, which is where it is dropping the rescued personnel at. And subsequently, the Indian Naval helicopter seeking, which is at the site, is according to what I understand, facing some difficulty in trying to zero down on the people who need to be pulled out. It's facing some issues vis-a-vis stabilization at the site, and that's the reason why it is taking a little more time. But we understand that the Indian Navy will soon be on the job and begin pulling people out. It's a very complex operation, Gaurav. It may not seem so right now on our screens, but to actually operate in such a packed area, whereas these are maritime forces who are used to operating out at sea, this is a completely different environment. Even though, having said that, in May 2012 when the Maharashtra State Secretariat was on fire, the Indian Navy and the Indian Coast Guard helicopters had been deployed even back then. So there is some amount of training, but it's a different environment, one must agree, and that's the reason why the task is more challenging than what it seems like on our screen. But as I said, 4 personnel have been pulled out from that site by the Coast Guard helicopter. The naval helicopter is now at the site, whereas the Coast Guard helicopter has gone to drop these rescued personnel. Gaurav.
And news just coming in, one firefighter has succumbed to his injuries in this raging inferno. Let me quickly go across to headlines today's Amrita for the latest. Amrita, so far, the saving grace was, the good news was no lives lost, but one firefighter, we're told, succumbed to his injuries.
But the fire brigade department is still not confirming this. We asked them whether there is any injury or anybody dead in this, but they are saying that yes, there is one injury, but they are not confirming it so far. But we can see that the rescue operation is still going on. One chopper is still there, and it is trying to position itself to pull out the officers which are stuck inside the building. The flames are still coming out. But disaster department of BMC and even fire brigade department has yet not given any confirmation on the number of injuries or the deaths.
Okay, and was he one of those who had just been rescued by the Indian Coast Guard and winched up in the helicopter and taken to hospital?
He was one of them. He was pulled up by the Indian Navy seeking chopper, and he was taken to the hospital. But even the hospital is not giving clear information about this. It seems that will take some time because this is a difficult operation for both BMC disaster and for fire brigade. So they are not confirming anything, but they are saying that yes, one officer was injured, but they are not giving any details about this.
Okay, no details so far, no official confirmation. Do we know the nature of injuries? Was it smoke? Was it fire? What happened?
See, the initial information which we are getting says that the injury was because of fire, because that officer was on the 21st floor and he was taken to the hospital. But after that, now when we are asking the details of it, not even BMC disaster or fire brigade is giving any information about that, but the initial information is the injuries are because of fire.
Okay, so one person has sadly lost his life. We're waiting for an official confirmation. One fireman feared dead in this while battling this blaze. 25 trapped, 5 rescued. That's the information that we have so far. Jugal, have your sources in Coast Guard or the Navy been able to add to this information?
Well, Gaurav, as I just explained, what is happening right now is that the Indian Coast Guard helicopter, which was there at the site, which we saw on our screens, has returned with those people who they've, pulled out to the Indian Naval Air Station Shikra, which is where in Kolaba those personnel will be, taken out and then be administered medical treatment. It is right now not on the site. Which the helicopter which is on the site is the Indian Naval helicopter seeking a much larger helicopter, but as I just said, it's facing some difficulty, as we understand, in stabilizing in that area, in getting the right position, because unlike the single engine Chetak helicopter, this is a much larger helicopter meant for much sophisticated roles. It's a personnel carrier. It could easily carry up to 20 to 25 commandos, so you have an idea of the size of the seeking helicopter, and it's an extremely cramped area, the one that we are talking about, and there he is. Often safety and security norms are flouted. It's nothing new for that to happen in Mumbai. So as I just explained, that this naval helicopter is facing some difficulty with stabilization and with actually initiating the rescue operations, but the Coast Guard helicopter is on the job. We're seeing on our screens now, the seeking helicopter is still flying around in that area. These are live visuals that are coming to you from Mumbai, from our team in Mumbai, and the seeking helicopter, as is evident on your screen, has not yet begun the task of rescuing people. It is still trying to find just the right way and just the right spot from where it can commence that operation, because once it's on the job, it has the capability to remain there and to accommodate people as they pick them up.
Admiral, the Chetak, being a much smaller helicopter, perhaps can come into this area easily and can begin operations. What would the problems be with the seeking helicopter? Is it the downwind? Is it the downwash? Is that the reason?
Oh, I'm not really sure. Maybe the wind pattern has shifted. You see, in these high-rise buildings, the wind flow pattern could be getting funneled in a particular direction. So it's best left to the pilot. But he's got about 4 hours endurance. You see, the seeking has got over 4 hours endurance. And once he gets his place to hover, he will, like I said, he will winch up the entire lot, 20, 25 people in one go, one after the other.
So once the seeking starts its operation, then it shouldn't take much time, but there is some bit of difficulty that the seeking helicopter is facing in terms of being able to stabilize in that area. What is the problem, Jugal? Has the Navy been able to explain that?
Well, Gaurav, it's an extremely dynamic situation that we are witnessing out there. The helicopter pilot is nowhere else but at the very spot, and as these visuals show you, the seeking is hovering around in that area, trying to find just the right way of initiating the rescue operations. So there isn't much explanation right now or scope for the same from the side of the Navy, because the man who's entrusted with the job is on the job, is in the area. It's a matter of finding just the right spot and the right condition for him to initiate the operation. As Admiral Singh said, that once he is on the job, it will not take time, it will not take much of an effort. One is just hopeful that this particular pilot and this particular helicopter is able to initiate its job. Remember, one must not forget that Andheri is on the coastline. The wind flow is quite severe in there as against that in the hinterland parts of Mumbai, and the weather, of course, is the one which is not really aiding the kind of operations that these forces and these two helicopters are trying to do, because unlike in the maritime domain, this is a fixed set of area on land where they need to focus. There is no drifting taking place. There is no scope of more area that these pilots have. Gaurav?
Okay. And Amrita, the information is that fire by and large is now under control. There's no fear of the fire raging once again. They've been able to overpower the fire.
See, even we can see it that some planes are coming out on 20th floor, but it seems that the fire is under control. But yes, there is some difficulty for chopper, it seems, because the chopper is not able to position itself. It is moving, but they are finding a right place to position itself to pull up the officers which are stuck inside the building, because even one chopper is still moving and that is not able to position itself on the building. And some more force has been called by fire brigade, some more water tankers and some more fire engines. So it seems that there has to be some difficulty for fire brigade and also for the chopper.
Okay, some difficulty, but rescue operations underway at this point of time. Any word from the hospital, Amrita? Are these injuries because of the flames? Is it because of the glass, or are they having problems breathing? What's the hospital telling you?
Hospital has given just one information. They have said that one person was injured and he was having some breathing problem. But apart from that, even hospital is not giving any detailed information. Maybe because they do not want to.
Yes, it's because of the din of that helicopter that has come in once again. These are live pictures of that rescue operation that is taking place. And Admiral, there have been fires in the past, and the question I want to come to on the other side of a short break is, are there any lessons learnt, whether it's the Mantralaya fire or the previous fire at a high-rise building where in Mumbai, where some lives were also lost? What were the lessons learnt, and are those lessons learnt only on paper? 2 floors of a Mumbai building have been gutted. 1 firefighter feared dead in the raging inferno at the Lotus Business Park in Andheri, Mumbai. These are dramatic pictures of the Indian Coast Guard having initiated rescue operations after 30 firefighters were trapped at this Andheri building. The fire started around 9:30 this morning. Around 11, the fire brigade was informed about this. Now, the latest information that we have is one of the firefighters, he succumbed to his injuries. The Coast Guard succeeded in rescuing him. He was rushed to the hospital, but at the hospital, he succumbed to his injuries. We'll get you more on that aspect of the story, but 25 firefighters are still trapped in this building. 25 firefighters are still on the top floor of this building waiting to be rescued. At this point of time, the Indian Navy's Seeking helicopter, which is a relatively larger helicopter, can take up to 20 people. That helicopter is trying to come in and rescue people, but because of wind factor, we are being told there is some funnel effect that's being created in this area. That helicopter is unable to come in. The smaller Chetak helicopter of the Coast Guard, which can winch up one person, which can pull up one person at a time. The winching operation is underway. 5 people have been rescued so far. Efforts are being made to rescue more. Headlines today is Jugal Purohit brings us the latest. Jugal, you've been speaking to your sources in the Coast Guard. How long is this operation likely to take now?
Gaurav, it all depends on the task at hand. As we just informed our viewers that of the 30, one is feared to have died while in wait. 4 of these firemen have been rescued, pulled out from the area, and they've been dropped at the Indian Naval Air Station Shikra, which is in Kolaba, around 10 minutes of flying distance from this site. And what we also understand is that the Coast Guard Chetak helicopter, which is on our screens right now, is right now at that air station. The one which is at the site is the Indian Naval Seeking helicopter. It's a much larger helicopter, and perhaps for that very reason, it's facing some difficulty in trying to stabilize, trying to find the perfect spot from where it can then commence the rescue operations. It has the space, it has the endurance, unlike the smaller Chetak does, and it can do the job much faster, but it's just about getting the right spot. And what we do understand from the Indian Navy is that it's going to be completely the pilot's call, because Andheri is an area which is on the peripheral side towards the coast, on the western coast of the island of Mumbai. There is a strong wind flow. It's from what it may look like on our screens, it's an extremely difficult area to operate in, because these are maritime forces trained to operate in the maritime domain, whereas here we're talking about a landmass where there's absolutely no space whatsoever. It's chock-a-block with buildings, and urban amenities. So it's going to be a little difficult in operation, and given the size of this helicopter, it will take some time. In fact, it is taking some more time, for the Seeking to initiate. We are aware that at 1:30 p.m. is when the disaster management cell of the BMC informed the Indian Navy and the Indian Coast Guard Joint Operations Center in Colaba about this situation. They were requested to launch their helicopters, and at 14:07, that's 7 p.m. is when the Chetak embarked on its flight, reached the destination in the next 15 minutes, conducted a survey, and then subsequently, on finding the right passage and the right area, initiated its rescue. 4 firemen have been rescued, pulled out. They've been taken to Colaba. The seeking helicopter is on the job. It flew after the Chetak did, and it's there on the job, just trying to find the right position before it can initiate the rescue operation. As I said, it's a much more, it's a larger aircraft, and it can take in more people. The question is about just when does it start doing that.
Amrita, is the fire brigade telling you that this operation could be over soon? What's the latest that you can tell us?
Fire brigade is still telling us that it will take 1 or 2 more hours, because even though the fire is under control, after this the cooling operation will start, and they have to check each and every floor after this, because this is a high-rise building. But the recent information which we are getting from Cooper Hospital says that one person is dead in this, and he was a fire brigade officer, and the reason of death is a breathing problem. He was admitted in Cooper Hospital, and now the hospital is giving details about it. One person is dead. 4 have been rescued so far, but still fire brigade is saying that there are 20 fire officers inside the building. We can now also the outside the building there is one chopper, but the chopper is finding some difficulties because the chopper is not getting proper position to pull up people who are trapped inside. So there has to be some difficulty, because extra force have been called by fire brigade, also some extra water tankers that may be for the cooling operation, which will start in some time.
Okay, Jugal and Amrita, keep tracking that story. I will come back to you. 4 more, 5 firefighters rescued, 25 trapped. Of the 5 rescued, unfortunately, 1 succumbed to his injuries. We'll track that story closely.